More or less. I think we can get started.
Our stream has started. And I believe I saw we had the teams up, right? Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call to order the January 9th, 2025 Watertown Board of Adjustment meeting. Can we get a roll call?
Yes, of course. Dolly,
Here.
Oletsky,
Here.
Colhane,
Here.
Spire,
Here.
Dorgitz Johnson,
Here.
Kakakchek,
Here.
and then Kays is absent. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, Kays.
Hayes is online.
Sorry about that, Todd. And then we also have our alternates, I believe, Tate and Albie. And then, sorry, Blake, you can go.
I'd just like to welcome our new board members as well, Michelle and Bill as the full board. We do have a full board today, so they will be voting on any actions that we have to take today. Welcome our new alternates to the board as well. Since we do have a full board, though, we will not need you to make action on any items. So at this time, I would ask you to sit in the audience. And thank you for your participation here. Okay, moving on to item 3, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Need a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion
Second that.
and a second. Any discussion on that agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
That agenda is approved. Moving on to item 4A on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the December 9th, 2024 meeting. We'll need a motion on that.
So moved.
I have a motion for approval and a second. Any other comments or discussion on those meeting minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Those are approved. Next item on the agenda is 5A, which is a variance request for a zoning ordinance on a setback requirement. So I'll turn that over to you, Carla.
Thank you so much, Blake. I'm afraid I'm having some problems with the web browser here. I'll take a second to try to get it loaded up, or maybe Trent, you can come give me a hand. Sorry about that, guys. Bear with me for 1 second. Open a new tab. There we go. Okay. Slowly but surely. All right, you guys. Sorry about that. Okay. So before you guys today, we have the variance request for a side yard setback in the I-1 district. This is going to be located at this property here. You guys might know this area as the Crenlo Manufacturing Company. Back in 2025, the property
Can you
646.
share your screen?
Oh, of course. Well, maybe. Sorry, everything's running a little bit slow here. All right, do I have it set up right, Trent? Okay, so it should be sharing, right?
Thank you.
Yep, sorry about that, Todd. Okay,
It's thinking.
we're buffering. All righty, but, so back in 2005, 416 Cessna Street here, and then the property to, let's say, like the northeast here, were all one lot. The previous owners, Angus Palm, applied for a variance request that would go along with the subdivision of the property. The variance request was to allow the 416 Cessna Street, and then again, that neighboring property to be split in two, basically making the structures legal non-conforming. The variance request at that time was to allow for each property to have a 12.5-foot setback off of that adjoining property line, which is how the variance was approved, and that's how the structures sit today. Before you today, the owners of 416 Cessna are looking to do a 20,000 square foot expansion to their building. You can see kind of approximately where they're proposing that to be located, in hopes of keeping the expansion in line to what is existing. I would love to scroll and show you the site plan, but I don't know if it'll let me. But in order to keep it in line with what is existing, they're requesting the variance of 12.6 feet. We have a black screen, but they're requesting the variance, again, in order to keep the addition in line with what is existing. The property or the existing structure on 416 Cessna Drive does have fire suppression in place. And then, of course, any addition added to the building would go through additional building code and fire code review at the time of building permitting. And that's really the summation there. Any questions from the board?
Carla, could you pull up the site drawing for the proposed addition?
I would love nothing more, but I have a black screen right now.
As you're pulling that up, I do have it in front of me here, and I'm looking at the setback line in question, which would be on the west side of that property. So it looks like the corner of the building that they're going to be extending currently sits 12.9 feet off of the property line. The proposed addition must be ever so slightly turned, so the far corner is at 12.7 feet off the property line. They're asking for 12.6 just to accommodate any kind of slight variance in that request, right?
Yes, yep, exactly that. They're looking to square up the building so it stays in line with what is existing, and just with how when the lots were separated, it just doesn't run perfectly parallel, so slight variance there.
And then to the north of this property, there's some green space there. Is that city property that's reserved for drainage?
I believe that's actually also owned by the Crenlo Company. I want to verify that here quick, but we'll see if I'll pull it up on First District here quick.
But in either case, there's no variance request for any setback from that property line. It's only the west property line that's in question.
Yep, that's correct.
We do have a public hearing on this, so I'll go ahead and open that at this time. If there's anybody here to speak on behalf or against.
Okay. My name's Don Roby. I'm here on behalf of R&R Holdings, which owns the adjacent property. I understand what the applicant's trying to do, because if we were to expand our building, we might be coming with the same request. So again, if you look at the picture, it's not up there now, but we own the small building, would be to the kind of northwest of that, lined up with the other building. My question is this: if this is approved, how will that affect our scenario if indeed we do decide to expand in the future, and we would try and accomplish the same thing by adding the addition so it's even up with where the building stands now?
Which one are you done?
Right where the pointer is, that smaller building just to the north, I guess it'd be northwest or west?
Don, does your building also have a variance granted for the setback?
I believe it does, because that was done at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's exactly right. It was when they split the lot, both buildings were granted a variance at that time.
Yeah, I don't know that we could necessarily, commit to any kind of decision on a property that's not in front of us for action today. But just speaking in general terms on how I've typically looked at this, and the board has typically looked at this in the past, is continuation of an existing property where it's not becoming more egregious is generally something that we take into consideration when making that determination. I know that's a non-committal answer, but unfortunately, that's all I can provide for you right now.
Mr. Chairman?
Chair,
Yes, sir.
Was that for?
Mr.
Mr.
Mr. Case?
Mr. Cade? Yes, sir. The only thing I was looking at here is that if we're looking at extending Mr. Roby's property to, I would say, it looks like to me the northeast or whatever that direction is. I'm in my car, so it's hard to tell. But as long as we had a separation distance between structures, I think that's the most important thing from a fire suppression standpoint. I think it would be, I don't think it'd be further exacerbating the situation than we already have. Moving
Fry.
forward, if Roby was to come in down the road.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Case. Mr. Von Eyck?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So from a staff administration standpoint, if Mr. Roby were to come into City Hall in 6, 12, 10 months from now and want to propose a similar expansion to their building, what staff would do is facilitate a similar variance request, but then also dig into the details of what the building code requirements would be for fire suppression. I'm assuming that building might be sprinklered as well, and so a continuation of that through an expansion of that building would likely meet the fire code requirements. I can't speak for the building official and the fire marshal, but I'm guessing that would be the case. And so then it would really just boil down to exactly what we're going through here today and whether the board at that time would be willing to approve a variance request for them at that point in time. And to echo your comments, we can't be committal to future board actions, but it would certainly make sense that if this were approved today and it were not making it any more of an egregious encroachment into that side yard, that I would echo the fact that, yes, staff have seen that commonly carried out in board actions in the past.
Does that answer your questions?
Well, then I think I'll go under the assumption that I know you can't commit anything, but it's very likely that if I asked the same thing that they did in the future, I'd probably, if this indeed gets approved, I would assume whatever the result here is, mine would probably be the same. If it gets denied, I might get denied. If it gets approved, I might get approved. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Roby. Anybody here for the public hearing on behalf or against? Anybody online? Last call for the public hearing before I close that. Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Are we still connected? Okay.
Yes, we are.
Open it up for comments from the board. We will need a motion to take action on this.
I would move to approve the variance, and I would add the following findings or understandings. First, the peculiarity of the platted lot. It's a strange shaped lot. It appears, and it's also a peculiar right-of-way with Piper Avenue and this, the public right-of-ways. The second, that there was prior variances granted on this particular lot and the adjacent lot. Third, that the variance comes in conformity with the current building on the lot. Fourth, that it appears in confirmation with the area and the industrial nature of the area. Fifth, that it appears to be of minimal impact and it is the smallest possible request in order to accomplish what they're trying to do. It's a relatively minimal request. And finally, that there doesn't appear to be any safety concerns, and any safety concerns have been adequately addressed. How'd I do, Todd?
Awesome.
I'll second that motion then.
Any additional comments by the board? Okay, we'll take a roll call vote.
All right, you guys. Oletzky,
Yes.
Spire,
Yes.
Sargent Johnson,
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes.
Kokakchek,
Yes.
Culhane,
Yes.
Case.
Yes.
Motion carries. Open it up to public comments. Was there anybody to speak on an item that was not on the agenda to the Board of Adjustment today? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. Do we have any new business, Carla?
None that staff has.
Any from the board? Any old business?
Not at this time.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We're adjourned as Board of Adjustment. We'll reconvene here momentarily.